Everybody, welcome back to a new episode of The Bullpen. Today I have a incredible guest for you guys, Ian Wendt. A lot of you guys know him for his official Patriot gear, but what you don't actually may not know about him is this dude is one of the biggest badass entrepreneurs I've ever met. This dude is actually huge in the door-to-door and sales industry. As a matter of fact, Ian, I believe that's where you got your start, right? In entrepreneurship, is that right?
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I started banging on doors right when I got back from my. I served a religious mission in Nicaragua for a couple of years, and then when I got back, I started banging on doors when I was 21.
So that's what I really want to get to know. I want everyone to get to know you. What's your story, man? So you went on a mission. Like, where are you from? Who is Ian? You know?
So a lot of people don't know this. I was born and raised in upstate New York, actually.
Oh, I did not know that either.
Yeah, about an hour and a half north of the city. Just super small place known as Burlingham, if you guys are familiar with Orange County, New York. But dude, I grew up I didn't grow up having everything. Like my parents did everything they could for us, and they, my dad worked his butt off, but my dad was a door-to-door salesman too. He sold life insurance door-to-door for
door-to-door life insurance?
Yeah, for over a decade. And at the same time, he was going to school full time. He had different responsibilities in our religious community. And they did everything that they could for us. And I can honestly say that we never went, like, we were never wanting, but we didn't we had everything we needed.
Right.
But we didn't always have everything that we wanted, you know what I mean? It was
very tight budget, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like I grew up in a place where we struggled enough that it taught me the importance of going out and getting mine and making sure that my family wouldn't have to go through the things I did. I mean, I'll just give you an example. Like, my family grew up in a single wide trailer.
What? Really?
Yeah, dude. Family of 7, single wide trailer in upstate New York. And if you know how hot it gets, I mean,
is New York known for getting hot? I thought it'd be cold.
Oh, I mean, well, it's cold during the winter, but I mean, during the summer, dude, the humidity is like 90+%.
Wow.
I mean, you're talking freight train of heat. And so, again, we didn't have a lot of money. We had one AC unit that was in the kitchen out of the window, like just kind of like a swamp cooler kind of thing.
Swamp cooler, yeah.
And literally, dude, we would block off the back end of the trailer and the front end of the trailer with like sheets, and then we would live in the living room and the kitchen, which I don't know how many square feet that is, but you can imagine with 7 of us.
A family of 7, geez.
Simply because we couldn't get the whole trailer to be cool enough. Like, we had to just block off that small section, right? And that's how we would live for an entire summer. And then during the winter, we didn't have enough money to keep the heat running all the time and keep it, high or whatever. And so to save money, we were always, we had it at like, I don't know, I can't even remember. It was probably high 50s, low 60s or whatever. But like, just to give you an idea, my brothers and sisters and I would go to Walmart and we'd buy these huge, massive, oversized t-shirts. Because when we were in our house, as soon as that heat kicked on, there was like 2 vents. There was one in the living room and one in the kitchen. We would fight each other and run to the vents to throw the t-shirt over our knees and sit on that vent so we could stay warm for however long that heat was blowing, which pissed off my parents, of course, because then the heat's not hitting the house, right? But it just gives you an idea of like, I don't consider myself having some of the struggles that other people have, but like, I did grow up in a place where even though we had everything we needed, I still learned the importance of hard work. I learned the importance of my family will never go through. My kid will never have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, he will never have to wonder whether or not he's going to have enough heat or be, cool or whatever. So anyway,
that's a testament to you because you're probably one of the hardest working dudes I've ever met. I can't tell you, like, you're flying everywhere. You're all over the place, man. Just doing stuff nonstop. Yeah. Somehow you always find a way to be connecting with somebody. Like, you might be one of the best I've ever seen at networking. And that's not an easy thing to be doing day in and day out.
Yeah. So I attribute a lot of that to my dad and also just to my my door-to-door career. So going forward, so I went out to college, and then eventually I went on, like I said, I went and served a little over 2 years in Nicaragua for a religious mission. I'm LDS, if anybody's familiar with that.
Hablando español, ¿verdad?
Sí, hablo español, claro que sí. Así que si quiere hacerlo todavía.
Podemos hacer.
Sí, podemos hacerlo.
2 Mormon boys speaking Spanish.
Yeah, buddy.
White boys.
Yeah. Anyway, so like, So when I got back from that mission, I got recruited into door-to-door sales, selling Dish Network and DirecTV. And long story short,
Man, that's the OG of door-to-door.
Oh,
you're selling
dude.
the dish, and you're selling. Your dad was selling life insurance.
Yep.
That's crazy. Yeah, wow.
Yep. So I sold for about 4 years, and I was always a top performer. And then, but the thing about me was, and this is an interesting thing, but I had a nickname. My nickname was Primetime.
Primetime.
Because your boy did, even though you say I'm a hard worker.
Sanders, right?
Yeah, you say I'm a hard worker, but I'll tell you this right now. One thing that I did not want to do is knock doors for 8 hours a day. And so I made, and we can talk about this another time, but I made the mistake of only relying on that talent and just not really ever putting that full foot forward. And so even though I sold a ton of accounts every year and I was always in the top 3 or whatever, I was never number one simply because I just didn't care enough about it. And, I would go out for 3 or 4 hours and sell 6 or 7 accounts. And I was like, why do I need to do any more, right?
Well, actually, so I don't know if you know this, right? But not a couple of years ago, it was one of the darkest times of my life, and I had to keep the business going. Lost one of the biggest connections I had. I had to go do door to door in order to keep the business running. Yeah. And that was my exact same method as well. I felt like I was wasting time in the morning. Yep. And I just said, "There's prime time hours, and I am too tired." Because door to door, I don't know if anybody knows this. What Ian's talking about. In door to door, you go from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sometimes they tell you to take a 30-minute break. It's brutal. Yeah, dude.
And during the day, I'll be honest, that's changed since. Right. That paradigm has shifted for me. To be totally honest with you, the fact that people say that there's nobody home during the day and this and that, honestly, it's a cop-out. It was a cop-out for me. It's a cop-out for everybody. The fact is, and I'll tell you this right now, this will be a little nugget for you guys. Everybody says hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, okay? But they also say, but when talent works hard, it's game over. The fact of the matter is that...
I like that.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is that the guys that actually put the hours in on the doors and also have just an insane amount of talent, they're running circles around everybody else. And they realize, just like I did later on, that it's an excuse and it's a cop-out to say that, oh, there's nobody home, whatever. It just means you have to work harder and you have to be smarter at, prospecting and whatever. So anyway, when I was on the doors, though, full-time, I just threw down in the prime time, and then, I just kind of coasted through those few hundred sales every year or whatever. But anyway, I got to a point, and this is really kind of why why my career progressed. I got to a point where I realized that even though I was really, really good at what I was doing, it wasn't what I was passionate about. What I was really passionate about was teaching and motivating guys to do what I could do at a high level.
Which is what, has really grown who you are, because you're very sought after. I don't know if people know this. You're extremely sought after to go and train, sales teams all around the country, right? Yeah. That's something you still do today. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I do. It's a lot of people don't know that because it's more of now it's like a side gig for me,
That's great.
I know. And it's tough too. I feel bad because I'll have people reach out, and honestly, I have to turn a lot of them down because I'm like, number one, either they don't know what they want. The first question I'm going to ask you if you come to me and ask me for coaching is, what do you want? And if you cannot answer that question, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to waste my time with you, because it's a complete waste of time for you and me. For both, a full office, team, whatever, corporation or individual. It's the same question every single time.
You need to know the outcome. Yeah.
Yes. And you have to be clear on it. Yes. But yeah, I feel bad because I have to turn down a lot of people now because I don't have the time to do it as much, But yeah, I do a lot of sales and more marketing coaching on the side now too, just kind of teaching people how to take their car apart and put it back together as far as marketing, social media goes, branding, things like that.
Well, that's some interesting, because not a lot of sales guys have the ability to do both marketing and sales. It's almost like a different mentality of thinking marketing and then thinking sales, and the ability that you have to do both is why you're so successful today, and honestly why I have no doubt you'd be successful at whatever you chose to do. Yeah, because you have that skill set. You have that skill set in sales, but you also understand the marketing aspect like crazy.
Yeah, and again, I credit that all to, I'm glad we're talking about my door-to-door career, because I credit everything to that career. Because, to continue with that story, I got to a point where I realized, okay, what I'm really passionate about is training and stuff. And so I literally, after 4 years of selling full time and then 1 year of managing a team, I said, I'm going to find a way, because the door-to-door industry, if anybody doesn't know this, I want you guys to understand, the door-to-door industry is like, it opens doors to people, to younger kids, I mean, between the ages of like 20 and 30, that literally don't open to other people. I mean, you make money that people dream about. You live a life that people don't think is possible at that age. And it's all on your back, right? And so I realized at that time that it was like, okay, if I want to continue to have this lifestyle that I have and continue to have these luxuries in life and continue to have this security that I have, I either need to figure out a way to stay in this industry without having to knock doors, because I'll be honest, I hated it. Yeah, I was really good at it, but it wasn't what I was passionate about. And so I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this for the rest of my life.
Well, so with door to door, what you're saying is absolutely true. But what my goal with my business is to try and take the same skill set of sales and the ability to prospect and find, because if you have the ability to find your own lead and close your own lead, you have freedom.
100%.
You have the ability to make your own money for the rest of your life. And what I have found and what I have, really specialized in is how to do that, not knocking doors.
And you're amazing at it.
Well, thank you. And that's what I want to show guys how to do, is that you can take this same skill set and not have to go 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. knocking people's doors in the sun, in the summer, all year long.
Absolutely.
You can do it because social media now. Mm-hmm. Social media provides that platform for you to be able to do basically the same thing, make the same kind of money, and have the same kind of freedom, but year round now, and we just don't realize
that's
it yet,
right. That's right. And and it's, again, like that's an important thing to realize is when you have the ability and you find an opportunity that will give you that financial freedom and honestly just freedom in general.
Yes.
You run with that. And so that's what I realized. I was like, okay, I have something here that if I can make it work and I don't have to knock doors, but I can still live this lifestyle, I'm going to do it all day. So I literally said, I told my my regional manager at the time, who was actually the guy that recruited me and a good friend to this day, Tegan Judd, I said, hey, I want to train. I want you to pay me to train. I don't want to sell door to door anymore. I want to train reps. And the truth is, I know that I can get your guys to sell more accounts than they are right now, and enough to make up for me not selling. And so he said, okay, let's try it out. So we did, and those results spoke for themselves. And eventually it got to a point where I think it was like my 6th year, I went to at the time it was the COO, he's now the president of the company. I went to Jeremy Hammond and I said, hey, look, man, I want to train the entire company. And not only do I want to train the entire company, but I want to give you guys, I want to build the platform. I want to give you all the content. I want to literally give you the platform that you're going to use to train every single new rep, all the veteran reps, the leadership, everything. And he said, look, man, like, that's cool and everything, but we don't have a corporate position like that. Like, there's no such thing. And to say that you can do that without actually proving it is like, I mean, there's nothing we can do. So he literally told me, he said, go out and prove that you can do this, and then come back and talk to me. And it won't be a matter of if, it'll be a matter of how much.
Yes.
And I said, challenge accepted.
Yes.
So I left, and a lot of people don't know this story, but I left that summer, and it was the first summer that I wasn't selling full time. And so people that are in the door-to-door industry understand that if you're not producing personal sales, dude, you're not making money. It's all on you, right? Yes. But I knew that if I could just sacrifice that during that summer, that it was going to make the difference. And so I literally went out and I started training offices, and I started training the individuals there. And I kept track of the metrics. I kept track of their quality. I kept track of their numbers. I kept track of everything in a little binder that I still have to this day, with every office, every leader, and every individual that I sold with. And I would do before I got here, this is what they did 30 days before I got here, and this is what they're doing 30 days after. And every single time I would go to these offices or I would train these individuals, it was, dude, the metrics were like skyrocketing, and their sales were doubling, tripling every single time. And the other thing I was doing the whole time was I actually created these little like surveys, because I was like, I got to figure out a way to get this back to Jeremy and back to the leadership, right?
If I want to report.
Yeah, exactly. Return report. So I was like, okay. So I would give the leadership and I would give the individual reps these surveys that basically just ask them questions to literally determine how well I did. And then I would just email them. I just kept emailing them all summer long, and I didn't say a word. I just kept sending them, right? And here's something that a lot of people don't know about me and about that summer is I overdrafted my bank account 7 times.
Oh, jeez.
Which, dude, when you come from a door to, I mean, the money that I was making, that's not, you just don't do that.
Yeah.
But the reason why it was happening was because, I also put 78,000 miles on my car. Because every time I was knocking with somebody, I was shadowing them and I was helping them and they were getting the sales and I wasn't taking them from them, right? And so I would make sales here and there and I was making like a couple grand every once in a while from managers that would just throw me a bone or whatever. But the fact is, it was the first time that I really didn't make a whole lot of money, but I knew what I was building and I knew that it would pay out, and it did, dude. Because at the end of the summer, Jeremy called me up, and actually at the time the vice president of sales of Dish, because that's when Dish actually had a partnership with Dish One, called up and said, okay, like, what the freak are you doing? Come in here and talk to us about it. And I said, all right.
Well, dude, that's one thing that separates people from success and not success. What you just described, what you were willing to do. Just like, think about this. You gave up and by the way, when you knock doors, even knocking doors itself, there is no security in knocking doors. If you don't make sales, you don't make any money.
And it doesn't matter how good you are either.
Exactly.
It's always uncertain.
Exactly. There's so much uncertainty already with that. And then what you did, but even then, you were certain enough in yourself that you knew you could make money knocking doors.
Yeah.
But the amount of certainty that you had in yourself, the amount of supreme confidence that you just described to be able to go do that, to be able to give even that up, and to go even deeper into it to something that's even more uncertain, is the difference between someone like you and someone who's just gonna, just skid on by for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Is because you're willing to do what 99% of other people are not willing to do. You're willing to take the risk, go the distance, and make it happen.
Yeah.
No one else made that happen. No one else. And I guarantee you, when Jeremy told you that, by the way, shout out to Jeremy Hammond, right?
Yeah.
When he said that to you, like, you're gonna have to prove it. That is both one of the scariest and exciting times of any entrepreneur's life. This is a moment where I not only get to prove myself, but prove to everybody else what I can do.
That's right. And it actually, he was speaking my language because, and I've said this on a few different podcasts. I think I said this on Brad's, and like, that one of the most important principles that I could ever teach someone, and that I will make sure that my kids understand, and that literally has like driven a lot of my life, is add value before you negotiate. Always add value before you negotiate, and add enough value that it's impossible for you not to be able to negotiate.
Amen.
Too many people nowadays try to negotiate before they add value. They try to ask for things, or they try to get something before they ever give anything. And the fact
that's
is,
all over social media now. People just asking you for shit all the time.
And it's honestly, it's such a weak mentality.
Yes.
And that, I believe that is one of the biggest reasons why we're dealing with what we're dealing with, which we're going to get to eventually. But it's the idea that people need to understand, the more you give, the more you receive every single time. Yeah. And so anyway, so after that, he had me come in, I showed him the binder, and I created a simple slideshow, with PowerPoint or whatever at the time. And I was like, look, this is the exact sales training platform that I basically took my process for selling, and I broke it down in simple steps. And I literally broke down the entire process from what I do to prospect, to what I do to pitch, to what I do to sell, to what I do to present, to what I do to close, to what I do to solidify. And I created this entire system called Edison. The Edison training program. And that was the beginning of my executive career at Dish One and now Caliber. So for a couple years, I built the program and I ran all the content and things like that. And then eventually I took over the training program. Eventually I took over the entire training department. Wow. And I ran training for, I don't know how many years. It was probably 3 or 4 years. And then when they rebranded from Dish One to Caliber, the other thing they noticed is that I was also really good at social media, because a lot of people don't know this either. But before I started talking about what I'm talking about now, and before I started getting really loud about things that I'm loud about now, which again we're going to get to, I had a pretty decent following and a pretty decent social media platform, because I was always very active, and it was always something that I put in there. I was always trying to build my personal brand. And people noticed that in Caliber, and when they rebranded to Caliber from Dish One, I actually also took over all the marketing. So it's like you said, I accredit pretty much, I don't know if all of them, but like the vast majority of my skills and ability to do sales and marketing is accredited to the fact that I literally ran the training department and the marketing for an entire direct sales company for years.
Wow.
And so I had to learn both things.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to be dynamic. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that believe that sales and marketing is kind of the same thing, and it's not. They are two totally separate things.
Yes.
And there are so many moving parts for each of them. But it's like you said, if you can figure out how to do both of those things, you are dangerous.
Yes. Oh, amen to that. You are dangerous. That's a great way to put it, man.
You are dangerous. And there is, it sounds super cliche, but there's literally nothing you can't do. Nothing.
Dude, you and me could have a 2-hour, 3-hour long talk just on that alone.
It's true.
Just on the personal branding. Everything you're saying, dude, like, I wish we could just talk about all day long because
we will, bro. We're going to hang out.
We're going to do this more
hang after, bro.
But there are so many golden nuggets, and just the fact that just talking about the power of a personal brand and honestly, the freedom that you have when you have a personal brand, but then also just the power to sell and market. Dude, we could talk about this for days on end. It is to me what makes you, as you say, dangerous. What to me makes you free.
People don't understand that nowadays it's not about having, this may go against what a lot of people think, but it's not about having an education. I mean, I have my degree. I have a bachelor's.
You're talking
and
about
I'm grateful for it.
Hates college right now.
You know, but I'm grateful for it. Because I'm not grateful for it because it doesn't do anything for me. Like, I have never had to actually use my degree. If anything, it's literally just like personal to me because I have the worst ADD on the planet, and I like, dude, school, I can't even tell you how bad in school I was. And so the fact that I was able to complete that, if anything, it's just something that I look back on and I'm proud of because it was a milestone that I was able to actually pass. And something that it was very hard for me, like very, very hard for me. So, but as far as that goes, like it's what it comes down to nowadays. And I know you understand this because you do a phenomenal job of it. It's about understanding how to create a personal brand, understanding how to make it so that you are the asset and that you are the business, I guess. Like it's not about big businesses. It's not about like a degree. It's about understanding how to create a personal brand. Yeah. And the people that get that, the people that don't get that, I should say, the people that don't understand the power of social media and the importance of building a brand, they are the Toys R Us of the world.
That's right.
I'm dead serious though. Yeah. They like when the internet came out, when people started actually creating, like putting their businesses on the internet, Toys R Us didn't do it. And look what happened.
Blockbuster, Toys R Us.
Yeah, Blockbuster, exactly.
Yeah.
If you are right now, if you are listening and you don't have any kind of social media presence and you're not learning how to put your business online, you are going to die.
Yep.
Period.
Absolutely.
And you're going to have to find a way to do something, hard labor, whatever it is, to make ends meet, and you're going to be left behind.
And people might listen to that, like, oh, he's being a little dramatic. No,
he's not.
You're not being dramatic.
I'm not at all.
It's true that you're in the Stone Age, and Stone Age ain't gonna last, right? But when you're talking about personal brand, what I want to talk to you now is your personal brand now is just absolutely taking off. I mean, you're friends with some high-end people, right? A lot of people in this country know who you are, but they don't know who you are with the entrepreneurship. What they know who you are is what we're both wearing right now, what we both believe in with all our heart and soul. Yeah. Is Ian the Patriot, right? Ian the Patriot, official Patriot gear, what you've stood for, what you've put yourself out there for. You know, how did that come about? Where did that come from, man?
So like I said, I had always been very active on social media. But to be honest with you, the things that I was active about weren't really what I was most passionate about. It was just like I would do the whole like fitness thing, and I would talk about sales motivation. And don't get me wrong, I love sales and I love marketing, which is why, I consult and stuff and why my career and everything. But the truth is, I was never really as authentic as I should have been. And I've always been somebody who has been very like pro-America and very patriotic. But it was never something I was super loud about. It was something that was just like when the 4th of July came around, when Memorial Day came around, like your boy was representing, right?
Yeah.
And I've always been very outspoken and grateful for the service members and for the sacrifices that have been made so that I can, because of my time that I spent in a country that doesn't have those things. That's another thing that a lot of people don't realize. But the reason why I appreciate America so much, and the reason why I'm so outspoken now about this stuff, is because I know what it's like to live in a country that doesn't have the things that we have here. Not only did I experience hardship as a kid, but then I experienced real hardship as in a country that you wake up one morning and you don't have water, and you don't know how long that water is going to be gone, or you don't have electricity and it's 100 degrees outside and you're living in a metal shack.
Well, you were born in America, but you spent 2 years in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is true, because some of the most patriotic people I've ever met are immigrants.
True. Yeah. No, totally true. Yeah.
They're immigrants.
Absolutely.
They know what it's like outside, and they came here. They fought for it. They came here legally.
That's right.
And they love this country with all their heart. Like a good friend of mine, actually, shout out to at Alpha Slice. His name's Muhammad. He was a nurse in Lebanon. I love this dude. I just got to know him not so long ago. He's one of the most patriotic dudes I've ever met.
I think I saw him online. Yeah,
he's badass.
I don't know if he followed me. I think he did. I'm pretty sure
he's a good dude. But like, in his patriotism, what he talks about, you just lit like Patrick David, that big entrepreneur we talk. The perspective they bring and what you're talking about now of seeing what's on the other side makes you appreciate what we have here, and it makes you crazy to see what's happening in our own country. People just don't understand that.
No, that's why. I mean, you're asking why this all started. That's why it started. So a little over 2 years ago, this is kind of when the BLM riots were going on and things like that, and I got sick and tired of seeing the country ripping itself apart, and everybody fighting back and forth and throwing stones at each other for something that was completely and totally out of our control, and something that was honestly completely manufactured.
Yes.
All of those things happened to divide us, and I started getting loud about it. I started talking about the fact that the mainstream media and the politicians and the freaking big businesses and big corporations, they were, I mean, you can call it what you want. You can call it New World Order or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
The fact is, there are really rich and powerful people who only want to be more rich and powerful. And to be honest with you, the thing that it takes is control. And those people are doing everything they can to control us as a society.
Well, what they want is they want to kill the idea of America.
Well,
because America goes against America at its core, and the principles of America go against the power and the control that you're talking about that people want.
That's right. So from the beginning, my message has been united we stand, divided we fall, because what people don't seem to understand is that they're being completely manipulated. And they're being manipulated into believing that we hate each other, or that we have as many differences as the media is saying we do, and that, we like it's not okay to love America because America's broken, or America's this, or America's that. And it's like, it's complete manipulation. So I got sick and tired of seeing that, and I started speaking out about it. And then the other thing,
by the way, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I'm grateful that you do, and I know I speak for a lot of other people who say this.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
It's amazing for us to have people speak out like that, and I look at you and I love it. I get chills when you're talking about it, because what you're saying, like there's a movement to make it unpopular to love America.
There is almost 100%.
And honestly, that is why I got this.
Yep.
Because when I saw people saying, "Oh, I'm ashamed of the flag," they try to make it like this American. They try to talk about the evil that's happened in America. But to me, America is not just a country.
No.
America is not some country like England,
it's
where
a
it was
symbol.
Exactly. It's not like this England where it's passed down from the monarchs or it's taken over by. America is a symbol of freedom. America is a country based off of principles.
That's right.
Principles of freedom that stand in our Constitution. That's what America is.
That's right.
And it's not like any other country. It's a country for people to come here and be free and to own their own destiny and to actually control their own life.
That's right.
And that is dangerous.
Yep.
Dangerous to people who want power and control.
That's right. So that's exactly what you're saying is what I realized, and I know you know this because you listened to the videos that I made, but I put out some videos, and the first videos that I put out were about the riots and about the fact that there was way more going on behind the scenes that people weren't seeing. And the other thing that people didn't really know about me at the time, basically only the people that were closest to me knew this, but I was kind of what you would call like a closet tinfoil hatter, right? Like I was always the kind of person that was looking into things. And to be honest, it all started with 9/11 because I lived through 9/11. And there's a lot more to that people don't realize. And the fact is, the government has always done things behind the scenes. Always. And there's always a motive and there's always a reason. And people that don't understand that or don't realize it are living in a fantasy world. And so, anyway, I started getting loud about those things. And the first thing that I got loud about was the fact that those riots were 100% manufactured. There were bricks being laid at courthouses, just left in truckloads for people to go throw at businesses. Yeah. And it was meant to create chaos in the wake of the election. It was meant to make certain people look really bad. It was meant to change everything. And as you look back now, for everybody that's listening to this right now, that was the first domino in a long line of dominoes that have now continued to fall. So anyway, I from there, that's kind of where things started taking off. And I had a lot of people that started reaching out and saying what you're saying, like, thank you so much. I didn't know this was going on. I had no idea. And I didn't realize how many people had no clue. I didn't realize how many people were just freaking zombies to CNN and Fox News. Like I didn't understand that because I thought that at least a good percentage of people knew that there was more going on, but they didn't. Yeah. And so then I started making highlights. I started doing these different story highlights on some of the other things that have gone on in the past and some of the things that continue to go on today. And that's really where people started to realize, like, whoa, you know, this world is not what I thought it was, and this country is not what I thought it was, and there's a lot more to it and everything. And dude, I'll be honest, when I started doing that, the reason why is because so my little boy Miles, I have two kids. I have a 2-year-old and I have a 2-month-old, and at the time Miles was a brand new baby, and like being a father changes your perspective on everything. And the things that I was seeing in the world and even just like the issues of child trafficking and stuff like that, like it got to a point where I could no longer stay silent about things. And I kept on, I don't want to have to look back and say, sorry, bro, I'm sorry, little man. Like I didn't say anything because I was afraid. And so I started speaking up. And to be honest with you, I did it with the understanding that I might be burning everything to the ground. And people are just going to think I'm a freaking nut job at this point, right?
Probably, some people probably do.
They probably do, yeah. But it was the exact opposite. That's the thing. It was the exact opposite. Things actually took off. My following actually grew. People actually started becoming more engaged. And we built a community, dude. We built a community that now all of a sudden, instead of people just watching my highlights and things like that, we actually started making a difference. So during the lockdowns and things, dude, we raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for multiple businesses that were going under.
That's right. Yeah.
We helped families that were in need. I mean, we did like the dinner clubs. That's actually the first time that we were actually able to meet in person, you know, and we were just able to accomplish a lot of amazing things as a community. And I started to realize that this community that we had built, and I say we because it's not like you were talking about how it's my personal brand. It's not my brand now. It's all of these people's brand. It's all of these people's community that simply were coming together because they want to see America thrive. And that's kind of the message. Like, I'll tell you this right now. One of the businesses that we were actually able to save was it was a cafe in Orem in Utah.
Yeah, I saw this.
Joe's Cafe, yeah. And the thing that stuck out to me the most was, dude, you know, no one once asked, no one knew who he was, no one knew what his business was, no one knew the background, but this guy was one of the most passionate people about his craft and about his business. And it was like a 40 or 60-year-old business or something like that, and he was about to lose everything. And I remember seeing his video that he put out just saying, COVID is bringing me to my knees. I need help. There's nothing I can do. And so I posted it out there, and what was so interesting and so impactful to me, and what really kind of like, I think, lit a fire in me that burns to this day is, dude, that's the business that we ended up actually saving from going under. And guess what people never asked? They never asked these questions, and that is, they never once asked, what color is he? What religion is he? Is he Democrat? Is he Republican? Does he support BLM? Does he wear a mask? Does he care about this? No one asked those questions. No one. They just helped. And the reason why is because there was an American in need with his American business, the fabric of this country, a small business, which was about to go under, and no one cared about any of those things. All they cared about was the fact that here's this guy, he's a fellow American, and he needs our help. And so, to answer your question as far as like the actual brand, it was like, I think it was like a few weeks later after this and after some of these other businesses that we helped, that I realized that there were a lot of people out there, tons of people, that wanted to show this, that wanted to show how grateful they were for America and wanted to like have a way to be outspoken about it, but they were afraid to talk. They were afraid to use their voice.
Why are they afraid to? Because you're put up on this cross where you're like, philosophically, where you will get. How many people are getting shut down? The president of the United States was shut down because he was too mean or he was saying things that were too dangerous. And that's what we're fighting against, right?
Yep, that's right.
And that's the community that you've built is so powerful because now it gives people, a place to actually speak their mind. Because I guarantee you, the people in the Patriot community disagree a lot. But there's one thing they do agree on. Is that they love this country and that they love being an American.
That's right.
That's what it's all about. I don't care if we disagree. I don't care if you're, honestly, I don't care if you're Democrat. I have a lot of friends who are Democrat. I don't care if you're Republican. I'm actually mad at a lot of Republicans right now who are in office,
That's right.
Not very happy with some of those dudes. It's really not about that.
No,
it's about
not.
This flag and the symbol that we represent as a country.
And that is why I did what I did. So I created the Patriot tee. And it was... honestly, at the time, and I've told this story a lot, but I just, it's an important message to get out there. I created this military green t-shirt that said Patriot, just like this, just like the one you're wearing, had the flag on the arm. And I did it thinking, man, it would be cool if we could get like 50 people to wear this, right? And the minute that I launched that thing, we sold like 400 something in like a couple days. And I realized at that moment that we had something that it wasn't just a clothing brand. It wasn't just selling some t-shirts. It was like we had built a community and now we had created a symbol that people could actually wear and like use to voice their opinion and actually like show their pride and their love and their gratitude for this country and for the freedoms that we have and stand up for it. And so, dude, it took off after that. Like I think we did, and I told you about this, speaking to the whole like canceling thing. At first the business was on Etsy. And we did almost 1,000 orders, and then one night I got home and I was notified that Etsy had shut my shop down for dangerous organizations and hate speech or something like that. It's just freaking crazy, and so I that night I told everybody, I was like, hey, like, I'm sorry, the shop's down. Like, I don't know what to do. Because, again, I had never run an online clothing business, right? I'd run marketing and sales, and I did apparel for the sales company and stuff, but I never ran my own online business. So I was like, what do I do? Yeah. And immediately people were like, just create a Shopify. Just get on there and create another one. I did. And it was insane, dude. Once we got that website up and that Shopify thing, it was like tens of thousands of dollars in a few days.
Wow.
And so again, it just took off, and people was just, create a hat, make a hoodie, make a this, make a that. And so fast forward to today, we now are about to cross our 10,000th order, and we are in events, and we're having it's just been amazing, dude. And
some really big names wearing your brand and loving what you do.
Yeah, man. And again, it's not because of that's the whole thing. It's not because of Patriot. It's not because of the logo. People are wearing this because it's a symbol of everything that we did for those businesses. It's everything that it's a symbol for people who want to just show their appreciation and their love for this country and for the people that have died to make it a free country, right? And dude, it's been incredible to watch how people have embraced it and how people have continued to help it grow. And going back a little bit, like when I was building this thing, I still had a full-time career. I was still running the marketing side for part of Caliber and everything. And again, it just got to a point where it's like, okay, you know what? We're going to go all in on this. I felt called to something bigger. And so, you know, we went all in on it. And now it's just, people don't know this, but it's literally just me and my wife. Like me and my wife is full-time mom. So it's basically like, I'm running 90% of this thing, right? Yeah. But it's been awesome, man. And you're right. There's a lot of people that have embraced it. A lot of really, really incredible, powerful, successful people who have embraced it because of what it stands for. Mm-hmm. And so that's the biggest thing. And I'm glad you had me on here, because that is what I wanted to really like share with everybody is get this message out there. Mm-hmm. The message of this brand and the reason why it exists is because we want people to understand patriotism is not partisan. Mm-hmm. It's not exclusive. It's inclusive. There's this, it's like you said, there's this attack on patriotism and on loving your country right now. And there's people that want to correlate it with like nationalism, right? Mm. We don't subscribe to anything that has to do with nationalism and has to do with that kind of, you know what I mean? Like if anybody tries to rep our brand that has that ideology, we literally shut it down. We don't send them gear. Mm. We don't send them a t-shirt because we don't want this to become a thing where people believe that it's only a far right conservative, you know, Trumper or whatever that's going to wear this gear. Like that's not what it's about. Mm. It's about understanding that if you love this country, you love the people here, you want to see it thrive, and you're willing to defend it, then you're a patriot. It doesn't matter what race, what religion, what political affiliation you are. It does not matter. And that is the biggest thing is you know, I was talking to Andy the other day actually, and I told him straight up. Fusilla. Yeah. And which by the way, like incredible human being. Like yes. I have looked up to him for so long, and to now be able to talk to him is like, dude, it's honestly, it's amazing. But I told him straight up the other day, I said, dude, sometimes it's so hard because I feel like I don't really like, I'm trying so hard to fight this, but it just feels like a losing battle. And it feels like, what can I really do? You know? And he actually said something that like, it made me kind of get emotional, and it made me realize like you do have a place in this fight. And he straight up said like, you have this mission and this mantle now to literally redefine or remind people what being a patriot really means, because it's not what the mainstream media is saying. It's not dangerous, right? And it's not bad, and it's not hateful. And those that are trying to make it seem that way are evil. And to be honest, the people that believe that that's the case, the people that believe that to be a patriot you have to be a certain thing or support a certain person or whatever, they are so misled. And so that's really what this is all about. That's what Official Patriot Gear is about. It's about reminding people what patriotism really is, and redefining for an entire society what that word means.
Well, what you're talking about with nationalism, right? You're talking about patriotism, and at the end of the day, a patriot, an American, believes in freedom for all, justice for all,
That's right?
And, you know, like, you look at what's happening right now, you know, it's a really big conversation of, like, should we have been in Afghanistan? Should we not have been in Afghanistan? What's happening in Afghanistan now? But in my soul as an American, I know a lot of other Americans believe this. If you served in the military, I know you probably feel this way as well, is that as an American, we believe and we feel it as our duty to fight for freedom across this world. And some people say, get out of there because it's not your business, right? But in my opinion, right, as an American, that's what we believe. We are the beacon, and truly the first country ever to be this experiment where it's not just that a king and queen created this country, or that is given to sons because the son who married the daughter or whatever to create the country. We were a country that was built because we wanted to be free. Yeah. And you can talk about all the evil things that happened in this country, and that's how they try to label us, right? They try to label being a patriot, being an American, by the bad stuff that has happened in this country. And
they try to resurrect it.
Exactly. They try to resurrect it as if that's what it means to be an American. That is not what it means to be American. What it means to be an American is that we believe in the men and women who fought against that. Because no matter what evil comes to this country, whether it's slavery, whether it's, racism, whether it's child, trafficking, whatever evil comes to this country that infringes on someone else's right, a real American stands up to defend that with his life. And that's what we celebrate on the 4th of July. That's what we celebrate being American. Why I love wearing this flag and having this tattooed on my arm, what you're representing. What we celebrate is not the bad. We celebrate and honor the men and women who fought for good. The founding fathers, Abraham Lincoln, the people on the side of the Civil War that fought to be free. Because yes, there was racism in this country. Yes, there was slavery in this country. But what we resonate with is the men and women who died to end that.
Well, and what you said too at the beginning about the nationalism thing and understanding the difference, like that's one thing that I feel like a lot of people don't understand. Even to this day, I've even had these conversations with people that were following me, and I had to clarify it, or I had to honestly just block them because I don't want that. Again, I don't subscribe to anything like that.
Right.
The fact is, America first does not mean America only.
Yes.
And that's
Amen.
where it gets twisted is people believe that America first means that we only look out for our own. Look, and I use this analogy, I can't remember, I think it was when I was talking to like Jimmy, I was on Jimmy Rex's podcast, and I think this is when I was explaining this. But
shout out to Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy's the man. But so what I said was, look, if my family is drowning in a river with a bunch of other people, I am going to dive in and I'm going to save my family and pull them to shore before I ever dive in and try to save anybody else.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You should
wrong.
save your own first.
Yes.
You should make sure they're safe. You should make sure they're secure. You should make sure they're in a good spot.
Right.
But guess what? There's also nothing wrong with diving in to help save other people if you can.
Right.
And not only is it nothing, there's nothing wrong with it, you should.
If you can, you must.
Absolutely. And so that's the point.
Yeah.
Is we as Americans should always make sure that we are secure first and that things are and that we're in a good place. But there's nothing wrong with trying to help others.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with reaching out to help other nations, other people, whatever. And so
well, you can't save someone if you're drowning yourself.
exactly.
You like when you're on the airplane,
Yeah.
they say don't go run around putting on all those masks on everybody else. Put it on yourself,
first so you can breathe. That's
so
right.
you can sustain something that can then help others.
Right. I can't protect my family if I'm not in the best place possible.
Right.
If I'm not the best version of myself, I can't hope to take care of my family, right? And so that's a super, super important thing that I think people forget. The other thing is the fact that, again, differences are what make America amazing.
Exactly.
Our country was founded on difference and compromise. But like you said, the one thing that all of those founding fathers and those men had in common was the fact that they didn't want to be ruled. They wanted to be free.
Yes.
And that's why, I think you said this at the beginning, that's why America isn't just a country, it's a symbol.
Yes.
When you see these other countries going through conflicts and having, going through fighting these tyrannous, regimes and leaders and things like that, what flag do you usually see flying in the streets? You see their flag, but guess what other flag you see?
Yes.
Cuba. Do you know how many American flags were flying in the streets of Cuba when they were going through? Yeah, Hong Kong.
Everywhere.
It's a symbol of what it means to truly be able to be free.
Yes.
And the fact is, I feel like a lot of people in this country don't and may never understand what it means to not be free. And unless we freaking allow it to happen,
well,
right?
Hey, and honestly, I think we're facing that.
I think we are too.
And that couldn't be the scary, because you're talking about your sons, right, and your kids, and I'm thinking of my kids, and that to me is the most scary thing. 20 years from now, I truly feel like what we are faced with right now is a fight for freedom.
Yeah, no, it is. And I should have said something, actually. I got mixed up. What I should have said was, I do believe that people in this country are going to eventually, if things continue to trend the way they are, they're going to know what it means to not be truly free. Yes. We're starting to feel that now.
Yeah.
What I was trying to say was these people don't understand because they've never had to deal with something like that.
They've never lived in a country for 2 years or even longer and experienced that.
And they've never had to sacrifice anything.
Just because you go on vacation to Tulum doesn't mean you know what it's like.
And it's the same thing, like I said, like, dude, growing up in a single wide trailer and not having to and having to wonder whether or not you're going to be able to stay cool in the kitchen. At least I had an air conditioner.
Yeah.
And at least you know what I mean? Like
the poorest man in America is usually the richest man in a lot of other countries.
So that's the thing, dude, is not having to sacrifice and really endure these kind of things. They don't have any idea. Or I just put out a video the other day, dude. I don't know if you saw it, but it was like, I saw somebody comment about the Afghanistan thing. I know you want to get into that, so this is a perfect segue. Someone put a comment on somebody's thread, and I can't even remember who it was or where it was or whatever, but they said something like, y'all are so oppressed, you can't even wear a mask. Meanwhile, people are clinging onto airplanes that are and falling to their death. And so, dude, I was furious because I was like, hold on a second. Twisted. And I know the person that said this, and I was like, hold on a second. I know for a fact that you continually complain about how oppressive this country is, and you can't even salute the flag and honor the men and women who have made it so that you so that you even have the ability to use your $1,500 cell phone to spew garbage like that in the first place. And I was like, you're trying to put it on people in this country that are fighting for exactly what those people who are falling from airplanes are losing and don't have? Like, are you high? Are you kidding me right now? But that's what I'm trying to say is like that's the tragedy right now that's happening is people actually believe that we as Americans are oppressed. Yeah. And they actually believe that our country is somehow, broken. And it's the reason why is because again the people who want control and power and influence, unfortunately, they have a lot of it already, and they have the ability to manipulate all these people's minds.
Well, what you just said right there, oppression is a state of mind. And if there's anyone who taught us this better than anyone else, I believe in the history of the world, it was Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, honestly, everyone could look at his situation and they could say, yeah, that could be the definition of oppression. And yet, he himself would not say, I'm oppressed. He had a mentality of, you cannot oppress me. Viktor Frankl,
Viktor Frankl,
who was literally encamped in the camps in Nazi Germany as a Jew, and you could say someone like that is a perfect definition of oppressed, and yet he carried a mentality of, you cannot oppress me, no one can oppress me unless I choose to allow you to oppress me.
And Viktor Frankl, I'm glad you brought Viktor Frankl up, because Viktor Frankl is actually one of my favorite people to talk about when it comes to this stuff, and he actually said one of my absolute favorite quotes, if not my favorite quote. And I'm going to probably butcher it, but he said something like, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that, and everyone has the ability to utilize that space, right? In that space lies your ultimate freedom and happiness. And what it means is basically when something happens to us, or we see something or whatever, any kind of stimulus, right? We have the ability to step back and think, sorry, that was the part that I butchered. He says in that space lies your ability to choose whether you respond or react, right?
Yes.
We all have that ability, but so few people do that, because I truly believe that we've gotten to a point where our society is so emotionally triggered. We see something and we immediately react in an emotional way, rather than stepping back and saying, well, wait a second. Let me think about, like, I bet you there's both sides to this. I bet you there's more going on. I bet you there's probably more that I need to understand. And based on that, my response is probably going to be a lot better. But it's also the fact that, he said that because he was dealing with people who have gone through some of the most horrific things that you could possibly imagine. And he was telling them, even though you're going through these things, you still have the ability to step back and decide whether or not it's going to destroy you.
Yes. Amen.
And that is so powerful, dude.
And honestly, in our country right now, not enough people understand that.
No.
And let's talk about Afghanistan real quick, because if there's one thing that tugs at the heartstrings of real patriots and real Americans, it's seeing real time that other people are suffering and honestly willing to die to have that freedom, because there's literally a tyrannical group in that country, and in a lot of countries, it's not just Afghanistan. There's a lot of tyranny in this world, and people who want to, have power. It's the wolves who are preying on the sheep, and there will always be wolves. There will always be evil. The difference is there the sheepdog who's willing to fight against that wolf to protect everyone else, right? Yeah. And us as a country, I'm proud that we went in and we fought the Taliban. I'm proud that we fought ISIS. I am proud of that as an American, that we are willing to stand up and fight for others, because when people see tyranny, the first thing they usually think, they fight themselves, but then they usually will say, will someone help us? Mm-hmm. That is what, and I had that reaction when I was getting bullied as a kid. I used to look around at all these other kids and I think, why won't any of you help me? Yeah. I don't want your thoughts and prayers. I don't want your tweets. I don't want you to feel bad.
You want someone to get in the fight.
Can you help me?
That's right.
Right? And, it's such the whole situation is so interesting. Us pulling out of Afghanistan like that, what we're dealing with honestly our president, and the lack, I don't even want to say lack, it's total disregard. I even think it's actually, I believe it's actually, they choose to ignore it, and you see that. Literally, there are 15,000 Americans in Afghanistan stuck, and President Biden comes out and says, I cannot guarantee your safety, and he is on current vacation. While this is happening, there are men and women who served our country to help us in our fight who are currently being beheaded. Their families are being killed. Our American brothers and sisters are there. And what are we going to do about it? We have a leadership who literally won't even take questions at a press conference. They're on vacation in one of the most dire situations I can remember in my lifetime.
Yeah, dude. It's so... I've actually been privileged enough to be surrounded by a lot of men and women who really, really understand what's going on with this conflict. So I can actually shed a lot of light on this.
Please.
So the first thing you need to understand is that Afghanistan didn't just fall over a period of a few weeks or whatever, like everybody's saying it is. The truth is, from what I've been told and what I understand, is that this fall has been over years and years. Yeah. Because what's happened is there's those main cities in the middle, but then outside around it are all of the tribal communities in the mountainous ranges and everything around the outside. Right. The Taliban has slowly been taking over that whole outer rim by basically coming into these towns and saying, we will protect you if you give us all of your whatever, right? All of your animals or whatever. And so they have actually occupied the outside for a long time.
Trading freedom for security.
Exactly.
Let's talk about that.
We will, yeah. And so what's happened, though, is basically... dude, when we went in to kill Osama, from what I understand, okay, this is just from what I understand. I am not an expert, so if I'm wrong, please don't judge me. This is just kind of what I understand from the people I've talked to.
It's all good, yeah.
But they basically just said that when we went in to kill Osama bin Laden, we literally wiped them out like that. We destroyed them. And we did a good enough job that we could have pulled out even then. But the fact is, it's not just Biden. All of the presidencies have kept us there simply for political reasons or whatever. And the truth is, a lot of these soldiers, they're not from what I've gathered and the men that I've talked to, the friends that I've talked to, they're not pissed off that we pulled out.
It's how we did it.
Exactly. Most of them believe that we should have pulled out a long time ago.
I agree.
A lot of them didn't even I've had so many of my friends tell me dude, the whole time I was there, I didn't know why I was there. Mm-hmm. I always ask the question why are we here, right? But again, it's not that we pulled out, it's how it happened. Because so one of my friends explained it to me. It's basically it's like you prepare this amazing feast, this amazing dinner, this amazing feast, and you have everything ready, right? And then somebody comes and pulls the freaking tablecloth right out from under and destroys everything before you ever get to taste it. That's kind of how it's felt, they said, because it's just everything was just destroyed so quickly, rather than trying to pull out in a way that things could at least be, maintained of some, And again, I'm not an expert, and I don't know.
What you're talking about is that the structure was pulled out. We did it slowly but surely, because you got to kind of phase things out in any aspect, right? In any business, in any thing like this. And again, you and me are definitely not experts because we're not military generals or anything, right? But at the same time, there's definitely a lot of people who are a lot maybe more knowledgeable in this than us, who are saying the exact same thing.
Yeah.
What we did was the worst way to do it.
Yeah.
To just pull it out all from one and just like basically leave a blank canvas for anyone to come in.
That's right. And not only that, dude. So basically what it comes down to is a lot of these men and women are feeling just destroyed and are feeling, are so upset and are so disappointed because it just feels, this is what it means when they say that they feel like it was for naught, because they feel like all the work that they did and all the lives of their friends that were lost and just all the sacrifice that has been made was for naught because it was just destroyed so quickly and so carelessly. And the biggest thing too, or not the biggest thing, but one of the biggest things is the fact that we left everything there.
Oh,
the Taliban now have control of, trucks, freaking helicopters, guns, ammunition, like
bombs,
all of it. And everyone's asking the question, why wasn't that stuff destroyed? Yeah. I talked to a buddy of mine, and he actually said it doesn't make any sense that stuff was left behind, because every single one of those soldiers is trained to know how to destroy that stuff so that it doesn't get into enemy hands, but no one did it. So to me, it's like, was it incompetence or was it intent?
No, there's no way. I mean, in all honesty, there's no way it was incompetence all across the board. Right.
But the other thing is this, what it really comes down to is the reason it was done is because the administration, the Biden administration, knew that it would be easy to blame on the previous administration if they did it that way.
Absolutely.
And that's what they're doing.
We keep trying to... Trump hasn't been in office for years, and we are still blaming things on Trump. Really? Like, I can't... I mean, it's almost... you don't know how to respond sometimes to these people when you start hearing this. Like, you got to be kidding me.
You need something to blame. You need something to put. I mean, again, dude, that's why I always say I think one of the biggest issues that we face as a society, and one of the things that's going to lead to our downfall, is the lack of accountability. Nobody wants to take responsibility for anything, whether it's good or bad. They just want to put it on everyone else, and that's exactly what these people are doing. Yeah. They have this monster that they've created. And again, that's just one of those dominoes that we could go into that for hours, but that was just one of those dominoes that needed to fall in order for all this stuff to happen and for us to be here right now as we are. And
I mean, what we're talking about here is, like some people will even draw a line, and we don't know for sure, but like, China obviously has their, hands in Joe Biden's pockets, right?
Dude.
But then China signing this huge deal with Iran and China,
Bro, I don't think people understand this. Everybody wants to talk about how World War III could happen. People need to understand we are at war. And I'm not just being dramatic. We have been, go talk to any of your friends that are service members. We have been at war for years. We've been at war since 2016. The whole thing about Russians and Russian disinformation and everything like that, and Russians, dude, that is not a fake thing. They have literally been infiltrating this country since 2016, since they put BLM and Blue Lives Matter on the ground and made them fight each other. That's a real thing. Yeah. Like the Russian disinformation campaign is a real thing. And so that's another thing why people have to be really, really careful. I am trying my hardest now to sift through all of the noise and all the garbage and all the misinformation, because the truth is it's coming from both sides.
Both sides.
And here's the thing. I'm just going to pose this right now, right? If you are Russia and you want to completely take down one of the freest and most powerful countries in the world, and you can't do it with guns and ammunition and firepower, what do?
Do it from within.
You do it from within. You do it with people. You do it with information. World War III is about information.
Yep.
And we are in it right now. And I promise you, the things that you're seeing with China, dude, I don't care, I'll say it. The Wuhan virus, China 100% created that, but it wasn't created for America. It was created for China. It was created to control their own people. The problem is it got out, and then you know what happened? These other, the big tech and all these businesses and all these people that are powerful, influential, and have all this money saw an opportunity. And that opportunity now is being exploited and is being used.
Do you have any idea how much wealth has been created during this war?
I know exactly. Like 90-something billion dollars within a few months.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the biggest redistribution of wealth that we have ever seen in the history of our country.
It's still going. I mean, what we're talking about right now, the whole, the Rona and all, the 19, whatever the bullshit, right? The thing is that what I think we just need to understand, anyone who says it's not real, we were talking about this, anyone who says it's not real is an idiot.
No, it's real.
It's real.
It's just overhyped.
But here's the thing. The coronavirus is going to always be here. Mm-hmm. It is not going to go away. It will literally never go away because it's just like the flu. It's like any other disease or virus.
It's the flu. We've transitioned from the flu to COVID.
But that's what I'm saying. Same thing. It is this thing that is in the air that we as a world, as human beings, there has always been diseases in the air, right? Yeah. There will always be diseases in the air. The common cold is always going to be here. Flu, corona, we could just go through the list of diseases and potential risks that are always here and always have been. But the difference is how this whole thing has been handled. Because at first, when we heard about this, it was an extremely dangerous thing, and everyone's going to shut down because we didn't know what it was. But now, it has become this political tool, this separate, each other. You're either for the vaccine or you're against it. You're either, wearing your mask or you're not. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about that poll between Americans. And it's another political domino that's being used against us. And it is the biggest bunch of horseshit I have ever seen.
People are using this, very powerful people are using this as a tool to control using fear. Mm. That's what it comes down to. Fear is the number one thing that leads to the ability to control a people. If you can make people afraid of something collectively, it is that much easier to control and manipulate them, because fear leads to control, and it basically creates dependency. We've gotten to a place where so many people feel like they're dependent on the government and on these experts or whatever for information, and they're willing to do anything. And and what's happening too is it's people, like you said, people are being divided, and now these same people that want control are starting to make the population believe that just having the ability or just being able to make a decision for yourself and just having the freedom of choice is dangerous and is not good for other people. And they're using fear to literally change the definition of the word freedom. They're making it seem like freedom is dangerous.
Yes.
And everybody that's listening to this right now, you don't have to agree with me. And it's okay if you don't. As a matter of fact, reach out and talk to me. I am more than willing to have a conversation with you. But I would just tell you to ask yourself this. Do you believe that people who say they care about their freedom are a danger to you or the people you know? Have you come to believe that freedom is dangerous? And if you do, ask yourself why and how you've come to believe that. And I promise you that you can trace it back to the fact that you've been manipulated. You've been manipulated to believe that that's the case. And dude, it's 1984. Like you go read the book by George Orwell, 1984. Go listen or go watch the movie, whatever it is. That's what's happening right now. Big Brother is controlling your thoughts, your actions, and dude, it's
you are allowing that to happen. You're in control.
Yeah. I mean, you look around and you see, dude, I've been censored. My freaking accounts on social media are shadow banned like crazy. And you look at people who aren't having to deal with that. You look at people who are technically, as they would say, on the side of the experts and the government or whatever, right? And it's so interesting to me because those people somehow feel like they're exempt or like an exception to this. Like they see all these other people getting censored, and they see these people getting targeted, and they see their freedom of speech going away, and they see, whatever. And for some reason, they feel like they're exempt from it. And something that all of you need to understand, if you're that person that's like, oh, it's not affecting me, and maybe they do deserve to be censored or whatever. If you're that person, you need to understand something. Once you allow the government to take the freedom away from one person, they can take it away from any person.
Well, there's that famous quote from Nazi Germany, again, going back to that, because history repeats itself, that first came for the socialists, but I did nothing because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did nothing because I was not a Jew.
That's right.
And then they came for me, and there's no one left to speak up for me.
That's right.
What affects you affects us all, because we're all in the same boat. And we're going to finish up with this. What you just said, I call the great trade. the trade of freedom for security. And this is the number one tactic any dictator would use to take over something. You just pinned it right on the head. It's fear. And you can only control someone through fear, and that you can spread all the fear you want, but in order to control them, you have to then offer them, hey, there's this really dangerous thing. There's an enemy out there, whether it's the coronavirus, whether it's, the Jews, whether it's the social or whatever they're going to pin as the enemy. I can now provide you with security as long as you follow these rules and you come under my umbrella of control, because I can't protect you unless you're under my control. That's right. And that alone is the big battle we're facing today, because and honestly, there will always be danger in our life. You cannot pad yourself and get rid of all the sharp corners in life so there's no rough edges and so there's no danger. The very nature of our world is dangerous. Every time you get into a car, you're taking your own life and you're basically taking a risk with your life. Tens of thousands of people die every year in car accidents. We should then get rid of cars, right? Or, thousands of people die for smoking. Why haven't we banned smoking? Why haven't we banned these things that we know kill people? It's because there is an amount of freedom that is allowed, that you get to make your own choices for your own life. And if that affects you, then that's on you. And guess what? That can also affect somebody else, because you choose to get behind the wheel and, drink and drive. That can also affect other people. Why don't we ban driving all around? Because you do not have a right to totally control other people's lives, no matter the risk. It is up to you to determine whether you will be free or you will trade that for security. And by the way, that security that you trade your freedom for is completely false. It's completely fabricated. There is no security in your life. The only security is you and your ability to protect yourself, your family, and to be prepared for your own situations.
Well, and the other thing too that everybody needs to realize is, like, if you're sitting there and you're one of those people that's like, if everybody would just do what they're supposed to do, if everybody would just do this, if everybody would just do what they're telling us to do, it would go away and we'd be fine and we could get back to normal again. You really need to ask yourself this question. When in the history of the world has anyone gained an insane amount of power and control and then given it back? When? If you can, I'll tell you one time it has happened. The Founding Fathers. The Founding Fathers gained an immense amount of power and control, and they gave it back to the people. And that's why America exists. But that's the only time that I can ever think about in the history of the world where that's happened. And so if you are thinking that if everybody just does what they're supposed to do, that all of a sudden things are going to go back to normal, you're living in a fairy tale. And that's what a lot of these people are trying to say. It's not about judging people based on what they're doing or whatever. Like, freedom is freedom. This country was built on freedom, but freedom means freedom. And to everybody that's listening to this, even if you're on the right or the left or whatever, you don't have the ability or the place to tell people how they use their freedom if they're not hurting anyone. And I know that some people out there are like, well, they are hurting someone because of this and this. It's like, no, the numbers tell us that they're not. If you actually turn off CNN for 3 seconds and you look at what's really happening and you look at the numbers, they're not. And so if you think about that and you say, okay, if they're not actually hurting you, you don't have the ability to tell people what they can do with their freedom. I'll tell you this right now. People that kneel for the flag, people that refuse to salute it, whatever, I hate it. I absolutely abhor that. It drives me insane. It's not something I ever will agree with. But guess what? I don't have the ability to tell them that they can't do it. Because that's what America's about. It's about the freedom to do what you want and to act how you want and to just make your own decisions. And that's something that so many other countries and so many other people don't have. And that's what we're trying to fight for, is the freedom that we have always had, and the freedom that many believe is slipping away right now under our fingers. And there are so many people that are falling for it and allowing it to happen. And there's a lot of people out there that are just trying to get people to realize that that's happening. And do I know where it's going to lead? No, I don't. But, people ask, like, Ian, how do you feel like you're making a difference? Here's the thing. I think the more that we can make people realize that it's important to love our country and to appreciate our freedom, the more people can actually come together. And the truth is, we have a lot more in common than we think. And we disagree on a lot less than we think. And I believe that patriotism and true love for freedom and for this country and for what it stands for is something that can really, really actually bring us together as a people, which is what we need most right now, is to be united.
Amen to that. Ian, thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Yeah, man.
Everyone
Absolutely.
watching this, please go support Ian on Instagram at Ian Wenster.
No, just I Wenster.
I Wenster.
And you
okay.
gotta type in the full thing because
At
your boy is
You gotta type in the full thing.
IWENDTSTER. And I have a backup, so don't. It's not I Wenster 2. It's just I Wenster. You're gonna have to type in the whole thing.
Okay, and also go support him at Official Patriot Gear at Official Patriot Gear on Instagram.
The Instagram's actually the Official Patriot
There
Gear.
you go.
And then
sure
our
you get those
website's
tags right.
officialpatriotgear.com.
That is it. Okay, there we go. Make
And
sure we get
I'll
those
throw
right.
something out there too.
We'll
If you
throw it
use
out
the
there.
code BOWL, you'll get 10% off your order.
Use the code BOWL, everybody.
Yep.
Ian, thank you so much for coming on. But
Yeah,
more
buddy,
importantly,
thank you.
Thank you for what you do and what you represent, brother.
Absolutely, man.
God bless.
Cool.